Hi, my name is Sarah, and I want to tell you a story that broke my heart. Now, as I'm getting over it, I feel the urge to share it with someone, as I guess a lot of you guys know somebody like my ex-boyfriend. His name is Jake, but now I can't even be sure about that. It all happened during my first year in high school. Our family moved to another town, and everything was really new to me. I didn't know anyone in my class. And on my first day, I was mostly watching what was going on as I was too shy to start a conversation. And among all the boys in my new class, it was Jake who drew my attention. I mean, it was hard not to notice him. He was so popular. He was not on any school team, and he didn't study a lot really. But there was something about him that made people want to be around. Like it often happens, you know. So of course, when Jake sat down beside me at lunch and started talking to me, I was interested. In a couple weeks, I had no doubt he liked me. Well, and I liked him too, as he was probably the most exciting person to talk to that I had ever known. Every day, Jake had a story to tell. He played drums in a band that was already quite successful and had several shows outside our town. He wrote poetry. He was a talented young painter, and he would get in trouble every other day because of protecting a girl or saving a puppy. At least that's what he was telling me, and telling his friends too. So in about a month and a half, we started dating. To be honest, what made me feel even better was the fact that half the girls in our class were secretly in love with Jake. That was the kind of secret that everybody knew, and of course they were madly jealous. I know I probably shouldn't have been so happy about it, but they were all quite mean to me, as I was the new girl in class. So I guess we were even. It all started better than I could imagine. Jake was the boy of my dreams. He was smart, funny, and I was charmed by everything he said. It turned out that the stories he told to the guys in class were a small part of all the exciting things that were happening to him. And it was like this for several weeks. At one of our dates, he told me that he'd be out of town for a week as his band was having a concert in a neighboring city. The first thing I said was, "I'd love to come." I mean, I was constantly trying to hint at him that I really want to meet the guys in his band and see him play. But he had a new excuse every time or pretended he didn't notice. The same thing happened this time. He just ignored what I said and left the next day. Well, I didn't like that at all. But I was already in love, so now I was looking for his excuses myself. Maybe he'd be too nervous if I was around, or maybe he's preparing a surprise show for me really soon. I mean, how could someone be so naive? So the first thing that made me think something was wrong was the picture his dad posted on Facebook. His parents were in that neighboring city, and Jake was with them. I mean, I was shocked. For the next 20 minutes, I'd still be looking for possible explanations of how that might have happened. Maybe his parents were there at the show to support him, but why, in that case, didn't he invite me? I couldn't find any answers, so I had to admit something was seriously wrong. I started to check the facts. After an hour of recalling his stories and Googling basically everything, I knew his life was one big lie. According to Instagram, for example, he was out with his friends the day he told me he was rehearsing. Art exhibitions he was mentioning didn't even exist. Epic stories he told about himself seemed to have happened to other people. And the last thing, the band with the name he had always mentioned didn't have a drummer. It was electronic. I decided to pretend everything was okay until he came back home. I was texting him messages of support and questions about the show. Oh yes, I had a strategy. So we met after he came back, and sure, he started to tell me about the show and how cool everything was, and that it was a shame wait for it, couldn't come. I chose the best possible moment, and I had my word. I told him everything I found out. He tried to defend himself and even manipulate, saying that we'd have to break up, but I didn't care anymore. I was furious. In the middle of my monologue, he broke down in tears. He said that his parents had to get out of town and they just took him with them, not leaving him any choice. There was no band, no poetry, no art. As he was speaking, I realized that he was making it all up because he felt so insecure. He really thought he was a loser and that without making all of these things up, he wouldn't have any friends. I mean, he lied to me, but I wasn't even angry anymore. I felt sorry. So I was there, even close to forgiving him, but he looked up at me and said, "Please don't tell the guys." We broke up the same day, of course, and I didn't tell anybody. Every day at school, he keeps telling his stories, and everyone still believes him. I hope someday he'll just grow up. After all these things happened, I have had trust issues for a while, and I would even check stuff my friends told me. But now I know I don't want to live like that, especially when it comes to friendship. So I'm working on it. Did any of you have friends like this? Share your stories in the comments. And subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.